that she has been crowned this queen of the league before she even showed up. And they want to make a point about it, and they continue to make a point about it. And there's pressure probably from the players to the league that, and this is brutal, that they don't want her getting a special. She gets nothing. So Sophie's right. Like, she gets treated and attacked and harassed differently than virtually every player. She's had it since she entered the league, but it is.
The basketball world is on fire, and at the center of the inferno stands Caitlin Clark, a player whose arrival was supposed to herald a new golden era for the WNBA. Instead, it has ignited a civil war. The league, which has prayed for a superstar of her magnitude, now finds itself paralyzed by jealousy, mismanagement, and a puzzling refusal to embrace its own savior. This isn't just about missed shots or defensive schemes. This is a deep-rooted, ugly saga of resentment, hypocrisy, and financial self-sabotage. And as the physical assaults on Clark escalate, the elbows, the shoves, and the infamous chokehold that shocked the world, the silence from the league office is deafening. But while the WNBA remains in a state of inertia, one unlikely voice has refused to stay quiet. Dave Portnoy, the fiery owner of Barstool Sports and a relentless defender of Caitlin Clark, has unleashed a scathing critique, labeling the league absolute morons for their treatment of the generational talent. The question that has the entire sports world scratching its head is this: is the WNBA willing to risk its entire future to cut down Caitlin Clark? And as a former player bizarrely suggests the league is better off without her. We are forced to look at a future where Caitlin Clark doesn't just change the game. She takes her ball and starts a new one, leaving the WNBA to face a potential bankruptcy that could come in just 90 days. The turmoil began long before Caitlin Clark stepped foot on a professional court. From the moment she was drafted, a target was placed on her back by veterans who felt she was anointed before earning her stripes. But the physicality in Indiana has crossed the line from rough and tumble basketball to outright assault. When we see Caitlin Clark being choked on the floor, it exposes the league's damning hypocrisy. Dave Portnoy, in his trademark explosive fashion, cut through the noise, pointing out the obvious. Where is the whistle? Where are the suspensions? The league that celebrates physicality is willingly allowing its biggest star to be battered, seemingly as a punishment for the media hype she didn't ask for. But the conflict isn't just on the court, it's in the front office.
Why is the WNBA so hesitant, Dave, to embrace Caitlin Clark, and sometimes feels like actively antagonistic?
Well, it's the worst marketed league in the history of leagues. They're absolute morons. That's the answer. Now, a lot of times social media will take this into a different stratosphere, because I've always said, I don't think you'll see this get politicized. I don't think it.
This is the core of the crisis. The WNBA finds itself in a paradox where the entity that saved the league financially, Caitlin Clark, is treated as a pariah. The physical abuse is a symptom of a deeper institutional rot. We are seeing a generational talent, a player whose gravity rivals LeBron James in the NBA, being subjected to a gauntlet that has no precedent in modern sports. The psychological impact of being targeted every single night, not just by defenders but by a league apparatus that refuses to protect her, is immense. Yet Clark has remained silent, letting her game do the talking, even as the elbows fly. The strategic consequence of this apathy is twofold. On the court, opponents know they can hack Clark with impunity, disrupting her rhythm. Off the court, the narrative festers. This is no longer about a rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. This is about the establishment versus the disruptor. And the longer the WNBA lets this fester, the more they validate the criticism that they are clinging to a rough and tumble past while the rest of the world moves on. The timeline of this story is accelerating, and if the league doesn't intervene, they risk losing control of the narrative and their star. The jealousy aimed at Caitlin Clark is so palpable it has become the elephant in the room. Many analysts have tried to reduce it to a race issue, but as Dave Portnoy rightly notes, the WNBA has had white superstars before. So what makes this different? It is the sheer, overwhelming scale of Caitlin Clark's success. She is the first player in the league's history to transcend the sport and become a mainstream cultural icon while still a rookie. The players who have grinded for years are now forced to watch a 22-year-old command the spotlight, the endorsements, and the ratings.
Team owners, from players, from the commissioner, that was just asinine. They just don't want to accept how important she is. The only reason they are flying private is because of her. The only reason they have a new CBA is because of her. But somehow it's seen as a sign of disrespect to like the players that came before or whatever if you give her flowers for that.
So that was Dave Portnoy speaking about it, man.
This is where the psychology of the locker room collides with the economics of the boardroom. The resentment is palpable. It seems the league is so terrified of appearing to favor the chosen one that they are overcorrecting. They are allowing Caitlin Clark to be the league's engine while refusing to give her the oil. The financial impact is undeniable. The WNBA is flying private because of Caitlin Clark. The new CBA, with all its benefits for the players, exists because of Caitlin Clark. Yet instead of thanking her, the players and the league treat her success as a slight against the legends of the past. It is a historic level of self-sabotage. Imagine the NBA treating Michael Jordan like a pariah because he was too popular. It's unthinkable. The distraction argument being peddled is a defense mechanism. It's easier for a veteran to say Caitlin Clark is a distraction than to admit that she is just better and more marketable. The atmosphere in the Fever locker room and across the league is toxic, steeped in a jealousy that is consuming the integrity of the sport. The boiling point of this conflict has led to a dangerous, franchise-altering conclusion. The WNBA may not survive its own hatred for Caitlin Clark. This isn't hyperbole, it's basic economics. The media writes, the attendance records, the social media engagement. The WNBA is in a Clark bubble, and if that bubble bursts, the house of cards collapses. And now, in a moment of absurdist theater, a voice in the media suggests that the WNBA would be better off without Caitlin Clark.
The W at this junction in time would be better without Caitlin Clark because she is a bigger distraction than she is an additive. Caitlin Clark has gotten the WNBA over the necessary threshold they needed. Now people are watching. Now we realize, oh, there's talent in the W. Talent that's actually even greater than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not just talking about bigs like Asia. I'm talking about the Olivia Miles. I'm talking about the Paige Beckers. Hell, I'm talking about the Kelsey Mitchells. Caitlin got the necessary eyes there. But now that the eyes are there, we don't necessarily need her.
This is the climax of the story. The audacity of the take that Caitlin Clark is a distraction ignores the reality that people are only watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark. But here is the kicker. Caitlin Clark holds the ultimate card. We have seen the power of the player empowerment era in the NBA, but we are seeing something different here. We are seeing a league that is so resistant to change that they are pushing their messiah away. What happens if Caitlin Clark, tired of the abuse and the disrespect, decides to leave? If she launches her own league as rumored, backed by massive financial investors, the WNBA is in immediate danger. The theory is that Caitlin Clark could take her marketability and create a rival entity. If she does, she takes the fanbase, the media attention, and the money with her. The league's rough and tumble ethos will be their undoing. They have fostered a culture that prefers cheap shots to star power, and the resulting product, a league on ice frozen by its own incompetence, is on the verge of bankruptcy. The high-stakes climax is already here. It's a standoff between the old guard and the new queen, and the queen has the nuclear option.